Me,
Right, it needs to
live, but this camera's not picking up for some reason. Now, there was one strange thing I've seen happen before.
So now I'm focused on economic development.
So,
We'll see how the various they're aligned or separate.
That's what I know.
be. So
That means it's on.
I should point that to
Just sort of here. So that way we're picking up at least some of the people. So you're gonna pick up. All right. All right, pick up Kara right there. They'll pick up me. And then we're gonna pick up some of the board members. Right now, it's the best we can do. I'd love to know if the sound is coming through.
Well, every time we get a new.
Is this working?
Every time we get a new.
It's on.
President of the,
Travis, this is working. Send me an email, please, if you're there.
they try hard to get together. So
Can you hear us?
he does the money stuff and the chamber does, the bagging and getting, and, no matter how hard you try, Eddie pushes you away. And you've got a good one now.
And gotta watch. It's not my most favorite thing to do.
Well, you understand that you can do it and see what happens. Why?
I might be in the seventh and have to break down some barriers.
Well, you know, Ray here wants to do. Tell me why, once again, Seifert is after the attorney. Is he that bad?
No.
I didn't think he
I
was bad at all.
Virtual, we just need to kind of get around and run.
I don't think that ever happened. Thank you very much. I don't think that ever happened.
But we'll see. And I would definitely see that. Correct. And Kyra's would be. And, my hope. No.
Yeah, the negotiation.
The other thing
Well,
so we'll be. Things are not,
that's the problem. The problem is that I'm not going to be able to tonight, you don't know, but it's not there. I go that whole thing. And the whole idea, you guys got the 1%.
And then it's split.
Yeah. Here's the whole idea. Was that at the end of the year, you have to spend on the whole thing. And there should be a percentage report. Good. Thank well, no, I had to be over the head. But if you do that, then you're,
But, I think guys that have to come supervise the next to me wants to, copy the beach, we're trying to go after this, you know, music.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, bigger position. You spend more money than the budget says, so take that out of But there you go. I asked, we got bored and we wanted
My goodness. You actually made it down?
We'll have to see how it goes. See how it goes. I will have to sign that contract. Other people are trying to interpret it. So other people are like, trying to interpret it. So that's awesome. So we're.
You might do.
I think,
Here's one of the problems.
yeah. I don't know if I've ever.
When the first time we asked him how he spent his money, for the report, he put street lights on the street. That's not yours. He said, well, yours can't see what they're doing.
Oh, that's what I mean, that's the thing, I mean, we focus on county docs, because people why wouldn't we promote that promotion of that?
That's fine.
Well, that's a great question, I understand my view. Yeah, it's got to sort of reach out. Well, that's, I didn't, oh, we did contract.
You can always say, oh, you really do. I still say. No, I shouldn't even talk about it. Here's.
Yeah, what, a lot of people are asking that.
I said it. We're the only one who's not done it. Nobody has ever said, how do you spend? Nobody.
But I don't keep up with them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm gonna go.
All I do is, you know, maybe. Well, we get it, it's 25, 600, you know, sales, all that. They've got all this other stuff that I was shop the books. All I do is, that money went there.
So, trying to find this,
Well,
Oh, wait, we got stuff over here if you want. No, don't do that, like right here.
did I search through this?
The logo,
You
the
know
one
what?
that you see on the left.
Thank you.
Get the heavy set.
Try Warren Washington IDA, because I tried it out myself to tell Travis how to do it, and I came up with it. You're actually on YouTube, correct? There you go.
Okay, right now.
is this supposed to bias, is Dunkin' Donuts coming here?
I guess.
Okay, we can hear.
You don't have anywhere near four.
He's on the board over there.
Okay.
Marketing and sales specialist.
Okay.
Is ball on there? Yeah.
No, I don't want to. I'm not.
executive session and this executive session.
Craig, like, Craig, see you. How you doing? Good, good.
Whatever I do, and you're gonna close the meeting. And you're gonna enter into, a meeting with the council, that's subject to privilege.
Okay. Who's that?
Everybody can. Well, do you need to go over the
No.
We had 200 west, most, without counting down.
You have the question.
Oh, wow.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. I apologize for the delay. We have had a little bit of trying to get a live stream going. We've got most of it going, but for some reason, the video camera doesn't operate, but it is showing some of the people here. So,
What are we doing?
what are we doing? This live stream.
It's like a concert.
Okay.
We have to live stream this by law, so we're live streaming by law. So, if you notice, Ellie thought we should have some munchies here, so we don't get,
Celery stick, Alan.
so we don't get a little jittery. We keep our sugar up, our energy level up. So, thanks, Ellie, for doing that. So first is call to order, roll call.
Craig Leggett,
Here.
Michael Biddle, Matt Simpson,
Here.
Bruce Ferguson, Ginny Sullivan. Here. Nick Caimano,
Here.
Mike Wild,
Here.
Brian Campbell,
Here.
Bruce Ferguson.
Here.
And Dave O'Brien,
Here.
and Michael Biddle.
Fine, here. Fine, thank you. So we have a quorum. I need a motion to approve the minutes as mailed.
I'll move it, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Caimano, do I have a second? Second by Craig.
With, correction, there's a typo on Sherry Winer's name.
Okay. So noted, we will make that adjustment. Next order of business is to review the accounts payable.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to call a point of order just for 1 second before we go any further in the meeting. It has come to our attention last meeting, and I've seen it written in the paper, that we do not have a policy for allowing people to ask questions from the audience.
Okay.
I would like to correct that by putting in a resolution before the meeting gets going, if you want to do it, that we allow that to happen at your behest at the end of the meeting. That it lasts no longer than 3 minutes, and if you want a longer answer, you got to submit it in writing. Move that as a resolution.
Do I have a second on that? Second by Mr. Biddle and Mr. Wild. Any further discussion? Carried. Now on to current accounts payable. I will have you notice down the page in Town of Kingsbury Special District taxes for vacant lots. We pay $12,630.75 for special district taxes for vacant lots. And we, on an annual basis, and $450 on Q4 water bills, so we pay that 4 times a year. So one of the items we'll talk about later is delineation. Once we get the delineation done, we should find a way to combine those lots. So.
Could we have an extra agenda when we get the chance?
We'll have to find a way to combine the lots. It won't be there. We'll surprise the number, but go from there.
We don't share.
Any questions on the payables?
Just one, to Mr. Morris, the 10,000, that we've incurred a lot with this for Edward stuff, is that what that is?
That includes $7,300, which was paid to us for reimbursement for WL taxes legal fees.
Okay,
So real estate number is $3,000 less, $7,300 less than that. And so that wasn't all dedicated to Fort Edward. Our general file spells it out, so one time we can get more of an idea what it is.
there is one at 7,300 for the general process.
Yeah, halfway down,
Yeah.
2/3 of the way down.
I see that.
That should come out.
No,
Did this include $7,300?
That included the WL Plastics, their fee for the month, and also $675 legal fee for Greenwich Preservation's closing.
Which is reimbursement. But we also have down here WL Plastics Council fees.
Oh, great, they're separated out.
No, but that's right, because this was $7,300, that was incorporated in there. She's gonna check it, but we believe that $7,300 was incorporated in the original first number. And the person we owe says yes. Normally, that is how it was, is handled as a pass-through. There's my error, that didn't go as a pass-through. I have talked a little bit about in the future, what happens is WL Plastics, or our client pays their fees plus their legal fees to our attorney. They then cut a check to us, and we have a pass-through back to them. In the future, I'd like to consider whether we would eliminate that process, so if they get their funds, there's no reason to transfer the ID and pass it back through. There is a discussion we have to have, but not tonight, because there are some reasons why it was done that way. So I just wanted to specify that.
So is it $7,300 overstated at the subtotal?
That's correct.
The 73,6970 is
Is
the only place.
included in that 10,681.
Okay.
So the general file is $3,312.
So, well, there's also $675 less for Greenwich Preservation.
Okay, that was, okay.
So we all heard it. They can't change it. I have plenty of witnesses.
But that means we have a new subtotal.
Yes.
Yes,
So I
Who's
think
gonna
that
do
should be
that?
corrected.
Who's gonna do that quick?
Yeah, we should do that before we approve it, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. I think we should let the lady who's getting the dollars do it. And she is.
I'm trying to figure out. I think you just have to take out from the total, but Ellie, is the 675 included in that 10 number too, or was that a separate one? I think that's separate.
So the total should be $28,129.25.
28,12925.
That's correct.
Okay. We'll correct it.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Motion for Brian. Do I have a second? Roll call?
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Michael Biddle,
Yes.
Matt Simpson,
Yes.
Bruce Ferguson,
Yes.
Jamie Sullivan.
Yep.
Nick Caimano,
Yes.
Mike Wild,
Yes.
Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes. Okay, and the final pass-throughs total $27,553.18.
The grand total is now 55,682.43.
Thank you. Can you repeat that again, please?
55,682.43.
Thank you. Of course, the pilot payments come in and go back out. And the towns and villages or schools are happy. Not schools this time. Okay, park business. Got anything, Jack? Brian?
Oh, here it comes.
You know, I never pass up an opportunity to speak, so seriously, that lot 3, which is over on the County Line Road, which is the one that we've determined minimal impact to any wetlands if someone should go there. We have had two interested parties. One of the parties is not returning call to me. The other one is in a position to submit a offer, and I tried to encourage them to come here today, but there will be a difference between what we're asking for the property and what they're willing to pay. So in discussions with the chairman, decided that they'll come in to the executive committee the first Wednesday in February, which is really where the process should begin. So I recommend that we should have a formal contract and application filled out and received by Friday, Monday morning at the latest. We've also had a discussion about the wetlands and as it relates to getting delineation work done when the snow melts, hopefully in April. And there'll be more information on that to take and come along. Mr. Chairman, I'm willing to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Jack?
You mentioned County Line Road. Are we talking about Queensbury Avenue?
Yes.
I think we should decide what we're going to call that from now on. We keep talking about County Line Road, sometimes it's Queensbury Avenue, and it's confusing.
It is, I think it.
Huh?
At a certain point, it stops being Queensbury and it goes to Town Line Road.
So it does where though?
I am not sure where that is, but I did notice that I by there one day, it says Town Line Road on one part, and then across the road it says Queensbury Avenue. So.
I'm willing to call it anything you want, so
I think we should.
you tell me what you want it called, and I'll, from here forth, try to do that.
Confusion Avenue.
The lots by the sign.
It's,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it's actually Casey Road is the divider. Queensbury Ave is on one side and County Line Road is on the other. We're located, I believe, on County Line Road.
Correct.
We are. Casey splits the two. That's where the divider is.
Oh, that's south.
So is it, this property is north of Casey?
Yeah.
On the east side
On the east side.
of this road.
Hold on. Yep, no, it's County Line Road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Always stealing property for what?
Yeah. Ally, your billing update, please. Pilot billing update.
You can see the pass-throughs. We've had 5 so far for the town and county and special district taxes, and I received a couple more today, so they're coming in.
Thank you. Recapture policy, fire tech, we think is over based on some numbers we have. We will not know until such point as they submit their SG 340 for the year. We'll go back and look at it. While we came up with that, as you know what they spent, calculations, so we think they're going to be over, and yes, it's mandatory recapture, so we're pursuing that as soon as you get the 340. The other 3 are not quite as easy. We've been looking for the ST60s and 340s, and some we have, some we don't have. There's confusion with a couple of properties, especially Patty Corporation, because like 2 projects run in together. We did 4 projects with them, but a couple projects running together. And we've asked that a couple of these companies to send their 340s to us. We thought it was easy enough just to pick up the phone and call the state or submit a request for it. And Kara, you got the answer.
You cannot receive those directly from National Finance, you have to receive them from the company. It's mandated in all of our contracts that they turn them over to us, but
So,
there's no harm.
yes, Ally has been diligently searching for them. Some we have found, some we haven't. But
And I
we
have
are,
called the customers as well to provide them. They're working on it.
so. But if we can't get a copy of the 340, then we're sort of a little bit of a loss. So we'll go from there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. At least one of them, I did notice some of the information was run together from a couple projects. So we'll look at it and make sure we have that once we get the documentation. Marketing direction, I think that We are at a little bit of a halt right now. Right now, as Jack talked about the delineation, there are a number of properties that we have to delineate to figure out if they are or are not saleable. We have agreed with Tom Jarrett and Deborah Roberts that she is the one that did the delineation 20 years ago, that we know the ones on Casey Road / Town Line Road have to be delineated again. The other ones, our first approach versus incurring the cost of delineation is having to do a walkthrough. Go do a walkthrough, and she thinks that she could eliminate some of the properties to undergo delineation because there are some that look like that they are wetlands, especially the ones across from Equistock on that side of the road. There are some you look in there, it's very obvious in the road, there's a lot of water there, and there's no reason to delineate those. You make a judgment call by a professional. So that's what we're looking for. Like you said, just submit a proposal to us, and then we'll decide where to go from there. So marketing direction will take its cue from both the delineation idea part. We can market those ones on Town Line Road and Casey Road, but we would like the delineation done in a couple because there are some that are close. If you look at on the map, a lot of the property is the wetlands that was used to mitigate some of Queensbury's airport a long time ago. And some of that wetlands is spread. Remember, that was an agricultural district, and they were originally wetlands. They were reclaimed for agricultural purposes, and some of them may have gone back to where they were. So more to be said. Dewatering facility update. I wish I was getting a penny an hour for the last few weeks. I've been through a lot of the work, paperwork, everything that has been submitted to me by WCC and whatever local property development corporation. We've had meetings on what's there, what the process will be going forward. We are still awaiting a meeting by SMS Rail to come up here and talk to us in person. We're trying to set that up. We hope that to be taking place next week. That's on the top burner. They are talking about SMS Rail, if WL Plastics relocates here, will be putting a spur onto the property, going around, wrapping around where they are and going to that big building because, of course, they're going to get their raw material, the pellets in by rail. And with that, they will probably be extending the contract for the SMS program. They are also looking at adding more grain operations over there. One more conveyor belt that I know of. They're talking about putting in a silo to hold their grain. And so that would be pleasant. As I look at the numbers, if we held that property without WL Plastics property, we would probably just about break even on holding the property based on the income coming in, based on the insurance, based on some marketing expenses and some other things that we put in place. We break even. I'll be fine tuning that as soon as we meet with SMS. So look at that. So we are currently undergoing the phase 1 environmentals underway. They did a walk through the property. I did it with them Friday. No, it was Thursday. Thursday walked through, and then she spent a couple hours walking the property. So in the process of the environmental, they sent out their FOIL request to all parties concerned to get all relevant paperwork back. With the discussions with CT&L, we found out that they are fairly certain that GE still holds the environmental responsibility for that property going forward, but we would feel a lot more comfortable seeing that in writing. I have seen it somewhere, but I think I don't remember where I get back to it and see. I would say Jack has been extremely helpful in the meetings and talking about things and understanding some of the processes and places of what we did, some of what we were impacting. So that's what we've done so far. Any questions today? Because that's the somewhat news.
fairly certain is not really warm and fuzzy either.
Well, I don't think it's bad. I mean, it's what we expected.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, there is a concern that number one, number one is that it looks like a closing date of March 1st is out the window. One of the things we have to talk through is, you know, you want legal counsel on this, is that we've looked at the tax exempt properties laws and what we do. Ford LPDC thought they weren't eligible for tax exempt. We found some conditions where they may be. They prepared a document to look at getting that tax exemption. It is now in the assessor's hands. They have had a change of attorneys in Fort Edward, so she's waiting to talk to the attorney. The other option which we are looking at is that, according to our legal counsel, based on under the parameters we're under, is that the IDA could lease the entire property, make it tax exempt. We could put in reverted clauses so that if the sale or deal with WL does not take place, we would have the option of keeping the property under tax exempt status, or we could potentially return it back to Fort Edward LPDC. That's to be determined. But that's our attorney's guidance, because we still need that to take place. If further taxes accrue on the property, then there may be a question about whether or not that, should WL Plastics not come through, it would be conceivable to subdivide the property, because with the taxes owing, in order to subdivide the properties, we would need to have the taxes paid off. The more taxes that accrue keeps on putting the price of the property out of range. So we'll have to deal with that issue. I don't know how, but what I'd like to discuss tonight is, this third option. The third option is that the IDA could take complete control of the property, in other words, buy the property. And same thing in place, we could have reverted clauses, so that if something happens, it could revert back to the Fort Edward LPDC, or we can keep it on. I think there's been some suggestion that, in opinions, that they would prefer to see no taxes more being accrued on that property, because it's going to cause problems with towns, the villages, the county, and put everyone farther in debt. And the county would have to make that whole. Did I state that correctly, Al?
So far, so good.
Okay. You'll catch me if I'm wrong, won't you?
I'm listening.
So those are three options we need to put in place. The problem with tax exempt determination is that we have an assessor that's not familiar with the IDA standpoint. I'll let Kara talk about that. So I'd like to get some guidance from the board. If this happens, we will have a very short period of time, the next month, to get this done. And some of it should be done. So I'd like Kara to expound on leasing versus purchase versus everything else.
Well, as you know, most of your projects are undertaken, or all your new projects are undertaken by a lease-leaseback transaction. So what happens is that the company itself leases the project to you, you lease it back to them. The law, it's under section 850 of the general municipal law, indicates that the IDA must have jurisdiction and control over the property for the property to have the tax exempt status. And case law has given the opinion that a lease-leaseback transaction, as long as the lease is drafted appropriately, with those conditions in place, that the lease transaction is sufficient to I guess, meet the criteria of exclusive control and jurisdiction. So I did speak to the assessor about that possibility to try to see what some of the options were. She, appreciated the information. She wanted to speak to council about it and whether or not they were of the same opinion. And that would be our opinion with respect to that piece of it. Let me speak to. So if you were to purchase the property, there aren't any specific procedural requirements that you need to go through. As you know, you're already under contract to purchase the balance of the property should the WL project move forward. So it would be the same process that you would undergo. It gets a little bit more complicated for you because of the short time frame. Now you'd be the owner of the property, so you have to make sure that you're looking at all the issues with respect to title for the entire parcel, the environmental for the entire piece. It would just be all the same issues you're dealing with on the portion that you're under contract to purchase. You'd be looking at all of those for the full parcel. One issue was, yes, the phase one, even though WL has done the phase one, that phase one is something that you can't rely on unless the company prepared it for you at your request. So you'd have to look at that piece. You'd have to do the seeker review, same seeker you did when you entered into the agreement to purchase that portion of the property. Timing wise, I mean, I think you're still within a suitable time frame. The one piece that I really think you would need to try to get a handle on is what the relationship between WL and Port Edward LPDC is, because you would then be stepping into the LPDC's shoes with respect to negotiating whatever the agreement currently is with WL. So you have to step into those shoes and undertake the rest of that process as it moves forward. So right now we don't have all of those details. So that would be one item that I think would be probably the biggest undertaking.
One of the things I think you remember telling me is the individual lease transaction, we would structure so that we were not responsible for expenses on the site.
Right, and
okay.
all those terms would be terms that we could negotiate with the LPDC as to how that lease looks. As long as we have jurisdiction and control over the property itself, then that meets the language and requirements of the general municipal law.
So I'm not asking for decisions today.
Good.
I'm just asking for guidance. We would have to, even if we bought that one little piece of property, you have to come back and pass that directly. What I'm asking for is guidance of where to go from here, because we know it's not going to close by March 1st. There are other issues that I'll be talking about in a few minutes, but we know it's not going to close by March 1st. I'll save that part of it for later. So would you be amenable to pursuing the lease of the property? Provided we can do what she said on expenses and everything else.
What happens with the taxes? We were going to do nothing unless all taxes were paid by March 31st. And now you're saying we're going to change that game. What happens?
What happens if taxes would still be out there?
But paid by whom?
The taxes would not pay, they stay as they were. The status is we would stop any more accrual of taxes. So Al, you're the tax expert, can you explain it from there?
Nobody come up here?
Yeah, please.
Whatever you like. There's a reason I asked Al to be here today.
The chairman uses the term expert loosely, so. Closer than what we've had.
So I'll answer a direct question unless you want me to just lay out what the timeline looks like.
The problem, excuse me just for a second, the problem is that when we sit here and listen to talk, as you have just done, and as you were about to do, I don't know about you guys, but I needed it in little boxes. I want to know what happens if we were not going to pay any taxes at all. What's going to happen if we now change everything and nothing happens by March 31st? I don't want to pay any taxes from the IDA. What's going to happen?
We will not pay any taxes.
Guaranteed.
The taxes will still be due and owing.
But somebody has to pay them eventually. Who's on the hook?
And Al can go through the process.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
So the taxes will be the responsibility of the owner of record. So if you choose not to pay the taxes and you happen to be the owner of record, not sure how this is going to be drafted. So there's $860,000 out there right now. Okay. If this leaseback or purchase agreement doesn't happen before March 1st, that's going to trigger a whole nother assessment year. So now you're going to be up at 1.2 million. So to the chairman's point, the urgency of this body now is to talk about taking control to stop that 860 to becoming 1.2. Okay? The 860, there will be two avenues, as I see it. One, it allows time for the WL Plastics project to come to fruition. The proceeds from that will then be sufficient to pay the 860, subdivide and move forward with the development as laid out. God forbid the WL Plastics program falls apart. The 2019 taxes will be enforceable in 2021, at which point, regardless of who owns it, the county would have the right, I want to say that very clearly, we would have the right to foreclose on the property and auction it off like we would any other delinquent tax property. Obviously, there's conversations that could be had about options therein, but we would have the right to take it at that point. So again, the 860 versus the 1.2 million, drastically different conversation. I don't know if I spoke to your question.
Yeah, I'm still unsure as to, when all is said and done, who pays that difference? Let's say WL keeps going, but somehow the taxes didn't get paid, the add-on is coming. Are we liable anywhere along the line to pay taxes? IDA.
So I would say that if you choose not to, then we would just foreclose on the property. So you never have to. You can exercise your option to not pay the taxes and we'll foreclose on the property. That's the trade.
So Mike had his hand up first. He beat you.
Beach Brian. So as the way I see this, the two options, there's not really much difference. We lease or we purchase, we're still going to be on the hook. And one of the big things we need to understand is what is the status of the WL Plastics negotiations? How close are they? And what are the issues that have impeded them from closing yesterday?
All right, we'll get to that. No. Explain it as another conversation, a little more complex.
And I do, Chairman.
So I'd rather finish this conversation before we move that conversation.
What you're going to answer the question is where what we have to know in order to answer this question. At least that's the way I see it.
So if we did lease this on February 29th, we would not be the person of record, actually.
Correct.
But
Which is why I was careful
it has
to.
no bearing if you have to sell the property to get the county taxes. Doesn't matter who's of record at that point.
So if you buy the property, you will become the owner of record. If you lease the property, you're leasing it from someone,
From the owner of record.
from the owner of record. Two very different scenarios,
But when it's leased, that does stop the tax, the way we understand.
which is what I heard Kara say.
The tax implications.
That is our opinion. I did have that conversation with the assessor and she wanted to confirm or research that. So that would be, my recommendation would always be to make sure everybody's all on the same page before you.
So the only reason we go down that avenue is back to where Mr. Caimano is if this thing was just needed a little more time to unfold and to happen. Because if it's not there, there's no point for us going there.
I don't have that kind of money in my wallet, no.
No, it would be, I don't see if we lease the property, the owner of record structured properly still owes the taxes.
Okay.
The only way those taxes are gonna get paid is two ways. First of all, if WL Plastics completes the purchase, taxes are paid. The second way is if there is another buyer coming to buy that property, which is one way to look at it. The third way is the county takes it for taxes from its owner and then puts it up for auction. Whether or not they choose to do that way, I don't know. Still, if more taxes keep on accruing in that property, the more you have to get. If it's gone to $1 million or $1.2 million to sell that property, you have to be able to in order to subdivide, you have to be able to pay the taxes off. Well, the steeper that amount gets, the harder it becomes to find a purchaser. So we have to make a determination, are we helping Fort Edward or not helping Fort Edward? And keep on realizing that $800,000 is the county's money. And, well, actually not all of it yet. We will make them whole at a certain point for this year's taxes. So those are the situations. Jack, you had a comment?
The last 2 minutes of the discussion was what I was going to bring up was the lease hold versus the purchase. And if I may, my recommendation would be is if you can get the tax exempt status, is to go with the leasehold version. And that way I wouldn't advise anybody to buy property and not have clear title for it. So I think the leasehold, and I'm sure Eric can put words in there with clawbacks, things of that sort. But you may go back to previous discussions that we had, is that it's utmost importance to have the plastic company.
So, Matt, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have you spoken to your colleagues in Washington County? I know there's some of them here, but did they opine on this lease arrangement, or they think that this is the best solution to?
This is the first time it's been public, I think. First time it's been public. So, I don't know. I think that when we talk to Fort Edward Village, when we talk to Fort Edward Town, and we talk to the school, they all share the same concern. They don't want more taxes to accrue on this property in case there's clawbacks, because they're going through the clawbacks now. Also concerned that the more that is on the tax roll, the more it's going to affect our largest employer over there, their tax value. So there's a lot of reasons why 3 municipalities come on record and said they would like this to be tax exempt because they want it to be producing in the future and get it back on the tax rolls. And the way to get our tax rolls is find people to come and buy the property. Bottom line. And that's our mission, help economic development and to help market properties going forward.
As far as the enforcement timeline, it would be fall of 2021 would be the timeline to keep in your little file cabinet.
So now that we've complicated things, I really didn't want to stop there. Can we go back to warm and fuzzy? So,
You done with me for now, Chairman?
yes, thank you for your help.
I have a question later though.
Okay. So here's the status of WL Plastics. The single holdup for WL Plastics, or I should say the major holdup for WL Plastics, is what's called durable access to that property. They have been in discussions, and I don't know why this didn't show up until November of 2019, why this didn't show up before that. So there's conversations going on with the EPA, who's going to transfer the land to the Canal Corp, who at a certain point is then going to transfer the land to the municipality. So whether we like it or not, it's going in there. The problem with durable access is they need that to get clear title to the property. And without durable access, they can't get clear title to the property. So EPA had originally said they were going to give them a permanent easement to use the road. And that would transfer down here, slap me if I'm wrong and correct me. But that would transfer to the Canal Corp. The Canal Corp's position is by statute, they cannot give a permanent easement. The only thing they can give is what's called a correct title, but it's a permit to use, which is revocable. And WL Plastics came back and said that is not a comfortable situation for us. We need to find a way to get a comfort level that we're not going to get thrown off the access road, because we need durable access. There's been talk of looking at that, and right now we're at a point where tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, we have a conference call with WL Plastics, with EPA, with NIFA, with the Canal Corp to discuss this. WL Plastics want to state their case of what they need to be comfortable in that. And they want to know the process going forward, the position going forward, so they make their decision about where they want to go from here. So that's where they stand. I had a discussion with the person who was running point on this acquisition of WL Plastics. They really want to come here. They said it's complicated. We still want to run through here, but at a certain point, we have a timeline that we have to meet corporate-wise, and we have to meet that corporate-wise. We have to go back to our holding corporations to say, this is what it is, this is why it is, and this is the, I won't say guarantees, these are the, I'm searching for the right word, these are the provisions that we are comfortable with using that for durable access.
Who will be on the conference call?
Pardon?
Who will be on the conference call?
Myself, Kara, Betty Little, Kerry Warner, Pete Lopez and the attorneys from the EPA, Canal Corp lawyers, Canal Corp and their lawyers, WL Plastics.
Could be, I hope.
Yeah, Zach, I hope Zach sent it to you. Yes, all the stakeholders, they want to get all the stakeholders in place. Even though they know they're not going to get their timeline tomorrow, they do want to understand the process and where the stakeholders end up. So that's their purpose of the con call to know. So that's pending what it is. Their timeline that I saw was from end of January when everything was submitted, 4 to 6 weeks to clear zoning board subdivision and close. So it's 4 to 6 weeks. So that puts us probably in the middle to the end of March, first part of April. But key is clearing this durable access. And someday, somehow, that no matter what happens down there, if the county takes in taxes, there will still have to be durable access because who's going to pay money for a landlocked piece of property? Nobody. So this has to be cleared up, whether it's for WL Plastic, which is our preference because the dollar in hand is better than nothing. And getting taxes paid off, which will help the entire county. So, Mike.
Do you know what WL's timeline is?
4 to 6 weeks.
They want to close in 4 to 6 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
And the likelihood of that happening is, seems to me, from what I'm hearing, is likely no.
It's what?
Not going to happen.
I don't say that.
Because that's go from EPA to the Canal Corp and then to the.
No. It doesn't have, transfers don't have to take place. They want to understand the process and the timelines and get agreements in place that they're comfortable with, no matter whether it takes a week or 6 months or 12 months. They want to be comfortable with the transition process.
They're willing to wait 12 months?
They will close before that. Are they willing to wait 12 months? No.
That's what I was really looking for. So, do we have an idea of what their timeline is and what they're willing to wait?
I would say that by the first part of March would probably be part of the decision point. I only say that because that's sort of the timeline they're following.
So where do we stand? If I may, I think that I felt because of working with several people in Washington County for a whole bunch of years on the burn plant. I've been around this county for a long time. And I think that I've been on the IDA for a long time. I think the idea that we could help Washington County do what you see we can do for them, and that is to develop around the WL property. That's a terrific impetus to keep going. But we cannot afford, in my opinion, to pay huge amounts of money in back taxes or whatever it's gonna be. I need to know, we need to know, I think, how much is this, what should we be looking for in order to make this great thing happen for Washington County,
I think,
financially?
I think if we're looking at it, that we will have a much better idea when we draft the lease.
Okay.
My commitment to looking at this is, number one, is that we will not take responsibility for taxes. That will be before they would LPDC. We will make sure that the expenses that are incurred on that are still carried by LPDC. And I see Neil Fonsing said, I know they had a meeting to discuss this before. So those are my terms. I don't think the IDA should be out when we're trying to help the community. That's my honest opinion. This, to me, is the ability to make this tax exempt. And the ability so that more taxes aren't accruing. So if something happens, that it's an affordable price to pay for someone to come in. Because there's no way that we could come up with $800,000 to pay the taxes.
No.
And there's no way, unless we bonded that, which I'm not sure I'd be ever for. Someone recommended that to me. I don't think we can do that. But that's where we stand at this point. So that's my honest answer. Were you first? You guys toss the
All right,
coin.
so I'm gonna just say this in plainly English, and tell me if I have it right. There's $800 and some thousand due right now, back taxes on the
Correct.
property. We're not gonna put any more taxes on the people of Washington County on this deal. We're not risking taxpayers' dollars because this lease is gonna stop the incurring of any further taxes.
Correct.
So in the event that this deal doesn't go forward, taxpayers aren't out, they're actually, it's stopped with the $800 and some thousand because we've taken possession of the property.
That's correct. That's my legal counsel's.
So I don't see any downside, I mean, maybe there is, we
Well, you're gonna pay the $800,000.
I don't see, as long as we're not paying the $800,000, because that is taxpayer paying, whether it's IDA.
Isn't that how it is?
Right, so there really is no risk.
No, as long as it's structured the way we talked about it structured. And you will have the opportunity to review leases before we sign anything, just as the final contract of sale. If we get to that point, you will review before anyone signs it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. There are some expenses, though, for us to do our due diligence before moving forward on this.
Correct.
Attorney fees, there's the environmental assessment. Do we have a sense of what that's going to be? That's an investment in trying to make this happen.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 60, 80,000, something like that.
Pardon?
I thought it was 60 or 80,000 we were talking about.
Oh my God, you think I'd spend that much money? No, right now, the commitment for phase one is about $4,500, it's $4,500.
Oh, okay.
We did have them look at the status of the substation, the status of the distribution boxes there.
Yeah.
So we know what we're getting into, and we know the condition of it. They have, Travis was great enough to go down and help us talk to the engineers in place. But they have some tests they do with oil that they sample the oil and send it out and tells what's wrong with the substation. So that place. Yes, Jack.
Yeah, if you recall, I think it was the last meeting, you agreed to spend up to $30,000, or authorize the chairman to do such, and if there was going to be anything more to take and come back. So my knowledge is that we're below that amount at this particular point. I think we were talking approximately 20,000, no more than 20 for legal.
You know, it was half, it was like 1,500 this month, but
like $1,500 in
I think
legal fees
that's
for it.
what's incurred to date.
So, you know, if we're $10,000, we're still under where we discussed.
4,500 for the phase one. CT mail is throwing in the request for endangered species and SHPO pro bono. And we have our electric, who's done a fantastic job. He's gone over there numerous times, and I've talked to him, and he's coming up with concepts as to how to solve the elimination of the generator that's leaks and stuff. So, and as I see right now, we're going to be below the 30,000.
And just as a follow-up, we won't spend any more money until after this call tomorrow to see if that's gonna pass the state test through the law process.
You betcha.
Okay.
Do you need a motion? Do you have proposal for this? Do you want to
I
lay it out?
propose that you authorize me to look into a lease. A motion by Matt Simpson, Matt second. Second by Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
This will be all according to whether the assessor still has to agree that that's tax exempt.
We're talking, I've talked to her, she's gonna talk to her, the newly
Right,
appointed
what I mean
council.
is,
And then
that's
we'll
still
have
gonna be the final part as to whether that's exempt, otherwise the lease doesn't do anything.
Correct. So are we already doing Market 32 is already handled by leaseback. So there is precedent in Fort Edward that they've accepted our leaseback. There might be another one. I don't remember if Irving was part of
Yeah,
that
I
or not.
remember that, I gotta look back at that.
So, anyhow, so that's there. Other questions? Yes, Bruce?
If I understand correctly, WL did transmit us their application fee.
That's correct. They transferred to us the application fee. They transferred to us the $50,000 for the sales tax part. The pilot will be another $50,000.
So in other words, it's concerned about how much it's currently due diligence will cost. That's pretty much been covered. Just want to make sure Mike remembers that.
So,
Now,
yes, Mr. Bill.
I have some questions on some other
Okay.
aspects of it, and word it carefully so it doesn't make me heavy. I did a little exploring one day and found myself in the pallet facility.
Mhm.
Is there a direct access to that pallet facility from the property we're talking about? Or is there another stream or a bridge or a railroad track or something?
No, there's railroad tracks in between there. And when they looked at providing access, not through there, but through that general purpose, the problem was railroad tracks. They probably have to build a bridge over the railroad tracks to get there.
I know.
So they came up with like an estimate to put that road in was like $10 to $15 million.
I understand there is a right of way held somewhere else there.
There is a right of way if you go down towards East Street Bridge.
Right.
Just before the East Street Bridge, you look to your left and you'll see the yellow entrance way. And you can go in that way, but then you have to have access to get through on the wharf area, correct?
No, it's down by the rail garage. When you go down the road all the way around, you go down the
Okay.
rail garage right there.
Okay.
That is the property. There's two adjoining properties that are owned by WCC. And both of them will give you access to East. And it's just like a block up from where pallets, all their trucks exit on East Street. But it is a residential area.
I know.
And it is a emergency, an emergency site that we plan on. And WCC is willing to give it.
Because I know we don't want excess freight traffic on that, in that neighborhood, but it is, we do have the log trucks and the pallets move in and out of town.
Correct.
And it's a direct, almost a direct shot over to Route 4.
And that's why this whole road aspect, and I have
hand it to WL's lawyer, because I was on the conference call when everybody was on board, and there's one lawyer, I forget his name, I think his name was Neil. But he said, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade here, but who's to say that there's not going to be a problem between the EPA and the Canal Corporation, and boom, here we are, and this problem. No.
So this
We're gonna take
project,
the last question. We have more questions.
if this project is gonna go forward, we're gonna have to have, I think, access lined out the way you just said. You're never gonna, unless the governor's gonna come and build a bridge and name it after his mother or something. That's gonna take a long time.
So
So you gotta have a workable.
I will address that.
That's it, out on East.
If I can say, Dave,
Yes.
I've been involved with this dredging project since before it even started. And Terry Middleton and Marilyn Culver and Mitch Superdot, they can all stand up and say that we've been guaranteed through this whole thing that this road is gonna go back to public access. And the only time the wrench got thrown in the works is when the Control Canal Corporation went to NIPA, because they're the ones with the money. Right? So now, once they took control of it, they're the ones that threw the wrench in the works with this road thing. If we had EPA, I mean, Gary Kulinski from the EPA guaranteed us that we're gonna have no problem with access. Well, here we are.
So, bridge was mentioned. One of the conditions of this is the bridge being replaced. That is a Bailey's Bridge. It has a shelf life. Bailey's Bridge is more a construction bridge or a military bridge. This is actually a Navy bridge, but most people are familiar with the term Bailey's, which is synonymous. Now, we had a meeting with ESD not days ago, less than that, where ESD came up here and they invited us to apply for funds to replace that bridge. When the process of putting the application together, this was last Tuesday, I think it was. When the process of putting the application together, the county on Friday authorized letting the county be the lead agency in this. It's strictly apply for funding. We are working out the details of that. It's being written. This is not what we call normal grant funds. This is a pot of money that was given to this area. It's something like $50 million. And it is not the grant process. It is more discretionary based on ESD and then the governor's office signing on it. So they've told us to submit an application and we hope to get back us as fast track to replace that bridge. I will say there's another party who, if he wants to talk about it, can. We have applied another source for funding, which may or may not be a faster ask than what we have. And remind me. Okay. So, but we will be there. So we are looking at replacing the bridge, and that's part of what piece of puzzle is put in place. Notice why my hair's got really fast. We get 2 days. Bruce?
But don't you agree that we have to have an ironed out access to East Street if this is gonna go anywhere? Because you're gonna have to start doing construction. They're not gonna bring it all in on barges.
They will, if we started to construct the bridge. Engineering would take a few months. We'd be back into construction season would be next year. We're talking about a year to get the bridge built from just laying it out. So construction season, yes, I think that the durable access from the access road would provide the comfort level of the trucks going in. WO Plastics does not want construction vehicles rolling in and out on East Street. It's one of the things they'd like to prevent if they can.
I don't think anybody wants to, but I'm just saying that we're gonna help out forward. Port Edward's gonna have to go along with it, at least temporary use of that access.
Those are discussions that are being held. Just Brian.
What it said right along, I don't like the idea of it being a driveway. I really don't. I think it should be a through road. I think when we have Canal Court in these discussions, I think we should talk about, they have a right of way all the way to 197 along the canal. There's plenty of room there for a road. I think if it was hooked to 197, then you're onto a state road, and it's probably less than half a mile from the facility. And that could very well be used where you put in the, you can build that road quicker than you can build that bridge. And I just think that we don't want to look at this where, I sent Mr. Biddle a text, I don't want to bump when we should be swinging for the fences here. If we want this to be everything it can be for Fort Edward and for Washington County and for the IDA, we need to not limit it to just a little driveway out the back way. We need to put it in actual through road so that people want to come here because it's a hell of an opportunity. Not, it's just there and there's some rail and there's this and that. Let's hook that right to the state road, because most traffic leaving there, in all honesty, just from where we're located in the country, is gonna go south on 87. It's just because of where we're located. Why would we send them all the way around an extra 10 miles to get somewhere where they started? I guess I would hope somebody's gonna ask on that conference call, NIPA, what are you doing here? Have you looked at the map? Let's look at the common sense questions before we ever get started down any road.
Amen. I think that's what I'm trying to say too,
It would be beneficial to have easy access, I think.
but if you're a time frame Washington County line, I think, just one person, on behalf of Washington County, I want to see practical solutions here. I'm worried that we don't have a position from Fort Edward that's saying that's a good idea to go forward. And when we say 197, Brian, you do mean 197, not 197.
I mean 197.
Okay.
I can't speak for Fort Edward.
197 is 197. It's from one bridge to the other. It's a pretty short distance.
I can't speak for Fort Edward.
No, they've got to speak for Fort Edward.
Man, Fort Edward doesn't appear to be here.
Well, we have.
I know, you know what I meant.
So, anyhow, Mr. Chairman, that's the direction.
The bridge we're talking about, is that the East Street Bridge?
No,
What bridge are we talking?
that's a road coming off 196.
The one we went over on the way in the tour.
Gotcha, the temporary bridge that was school bridge, okay.
Okay.
That's it, thank you.
Any other conversations? No?
Mr. Chairman, my question is related to this topic. Do you want me to wait till the end of the meeting as the resolution, or do you want me to ask now?
Really ask now.
Bring Mr. Wicks up later.
No, he'll close me down.
So one of the things I wanted to ask this body today, because as you're aware, the Washington County passed a resolution on Friday to apply for grant funds. Our experience with ESD is that they love a project like this, but they do not love funding 100%. There's going to have to be some kind of narrative in the grant application for some local match dollars. It's my understanding from what I've heard in this room and other conversations, this organization has received some funds from WL in this process. And if you take control of the properties remaining after the WL purchase, they will also have opportunities for this body to earn income through pilot applications, sales tax applications. What I wanted to respectfully ask is there any appetite of this body to be able to at least be part of the grant narrative, to have a little bit of local match to help ensure the success of that grant application? Whether that's 50,000, 75,000, I'd love 100,000. But this is just, again, the narrative in the grant application. I would love to see this body contribute to the success of that grant application as well.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mike.
The treasurer brings up a good point, but also within that grant application, we'll also be putting in monies from WL Plastics and their investment as well, correct?
I hadn't heard that yet, Mr. Bill.
and that's around $17 million.
$17 million, correct. The fund,
I'm talking specific to the $1.2 million needed for the bridge.
Yeah.
They're gonna look for some local match dollars on that project specifically.
They also, within the grant application, generally look for investment, total investment.
Right.
In the project.
Right.
so,
I just wanted that for the purpose of the board.
Sure.
So that nobody's thinking it's just that grant and us.
Right.
correct.
There's a bigger, broader investment.
And ESD's aware of that through their already existing package with WL?
What's that?
Yes.
ESD is aware of that through
They
their
are.
existing project plan with WL already? Yes.
Yes, sir.
We're not applying for the grant for the bridge. I forget how Laura said that. It is going to be a global application more than just a bridge, so we can use funding from other sources.
It's a public-private partnership.
Yes.
And we're gonna use the bridge that's there, if it has any equity at all towards it. And there was, and WCC's.
Land contributions
part of their
possible.
property.
We'll talk about that.
There's a lot of things that are involved in this thing.
And I wanted to respectfully ask this body because I think it will strengthen the application if we've got some, the parties that are gonna benefit from this property, all have a little bit of skin in the game. And potentially the IDA is one of those bodies.
The idea is to have a lot of skin in this game.
I agree with what you're bringing now, but we have to put a lot more risk in the game earlier than anybody else if we do that. I think that's where, you're already talking about a piece of property that the taxes are not paid on at the moment, and may not be paid on. And if we put in 100,000 and then the county takes the property, what we really gave away the house, what were we thinking? I'm trying to look at how it could play out the wrong way in the end. And I don't know if I look at it that way, I can actually ask this body to put money in on it.
So right now, my focus is on the WL deal, Mr. Campbell. You're looking past that, and I respect that.
Well, in case it falls apart.
So a different way to ask my question could be this. If ESD comes back and they say, look, we need 10% match on this thing, whatever the number is, okay? The land contribution, which it sounds like you're gonna get to in a minute, is X dollars. The sale of the Bailey Bridge is Y dollars. There's a $35,000 gap in between what we've achieved and what the local match is. This body could also pass a not to exceed number.
How do you get $35,000? If we get $100,000 from Bailey Bridge, that's pretty close to 10%.
And what if you don't? I'm just saying, that's why you could say you could use a not to exceed number. I just think that the narrative from this body could strengthen the application, that's all.
Yes.
I have my own theme music. Sweet.
I like the idea because it's in the name of economic development. It's part of this piece of the pie, and that's what we do. I think it's just gotta be done in the right order.
So I will tell you that, I'll tell you the opposite side of this. We have money in our bank account. If you look at this month's financials, last year we lost $20,000. We don't have a steady income stream coming in. We just lost the potential of potentially selling some of our properties until we get money and find out what we have to sell. So I just want to remind people that we don't have a steady income stream. We're one of the only bicameral, we're the only bicameral IDA in the state. And we don't receive any funding from our sponsors. All our money is self-generated. So I would hesitate to make that commitment tonight. I think we have other ways to make that match. I will have a conversation with Laura about this, but she's the one writing the grant, putting it together, she's the person behind it. I don't know what everyone else's feelings are. Bruce?
I go back to the money that's coming to us from WL, that money, after we've done the due diligence and so on, that money should be available. Anything we can do to enhance this project, the bridge goes in, I disagree with Brian, I don't think there's a risk. We'll have a piece of property with a bridge, it could be, if it's not for WL, for somebody else. And there's, even though I suppose technically you can say our money we have is tax dollars, it did not come from Warren County, it did not come from Washington County, it was money that came to us from commissions over the years. And sale of land. So it's, we're not, it's not a taxpayer question, it's just a good business type of, and I think we're dependent on the amount. I would have no problem voting for money, but we know what's coming in.
Right, well, okay. But we should do projections before we commit to anything.
That's right.
We have to understand what our financial situation is, what our expenses are gonna be, and what there's gonna be before we make any type of commitment like that.
I agree.
Brian?
With what the county board agreed to is being the lead agency, and there was gonna be some land that WCC owned that was gonna be used as a public-private partnership type deal to make this all work. I hope that wasn't with the proposal they sent, because the proposal,
We were not gonna talk about the proposal right now. Okay?
but if that's,
We'll be talking about that later with attorney-client discussions.
all I'm saying, I don't care about what, I'm just saying that if that's the only way the land's included, that is not happening.
We'll discuss that later in attorney-client discussions. Right?
Mr. Chairman, thanks. I was wondering if you could help me understand something. When this property potentially goes to tax exempt, the tax levy then gets placed on the citizens of Port Edward, Warren County, and the businesses.
And the rest of Washington County.
And the rest of Washington County. What does that do to individuals' taxes? Of course they go up. That's the question is, how much are they going up to the point where the citizens are actually paying for this one way or not, right?
So this is gonna be a
So
shift
it's
of
a
about
big-
8.7, it'll be a shift of about $8.7 million is my memory. That will be spread back over the rest of the tax base.
So a typical taxpayer will see $100.
Oh, well,
Depends on what the whole county raises for you.
So I could run some numbers for this body, but off the top of my head, I could not answer that question without, because there's several factors.
And I just think about the benefit of going through this. I always hate being pressured to make a decision.
Because I can tell you that I offered to Mr. Campbell before to make a presentation to this body about the effects of pilots. And what was interesting is when we looked at the pilot number for like a project like the old Masonic Hall in Huffman Falls, it turned out that that number didn't even shift the rate, not one penny. So it takes, because of the size of the tax base, I mean, this number would shift it. 8.7 is considerable, but it takes a lot, believe it or not, to move that rate significantly.
For the county, but what about the county?
Same.
and that's what, I asked Dave about this at our Tuesday meeting, or Wednesday meeting, whatever day it was. And you said you were gonna have those numbers, because I was gonna get them, and you said you already had that.
I had the assessed value. The
Oh, so
assessed
you
value,
didn't get the numbers.
the assessed value, did not get the book down, the assessed value for the piece of property that WL is purchasing is 5.5. So if they end up buying the property, they will still be paying the same taxes that they were before in that $5.5 million. The only thing that would be exempt was the 2.5 million. That would be the assessed value of that piece of property.
But right now on March 1st, you're looking at the whole 8.7 to come off.
Well, yes.
I think that speaks to his question.
Well, I'm just trying to get my arms around the benefits to the public and the citizens of Washington County. Does this move basically just make it easy for the county and towns to balance their budgets? Or does it not? And I'm just trying to figure out what that benefit is between the municipal entities, the municipal governments not getting this revenue and the citizens that have to make up the difference in the revenue. And I'm just trying to get my arms around that. I don't quite understand it because it seems like it's a,
So here's
it seems like it's a wash. We're just doing a shrug.
Yes, correct.
So last year, the total assessment for Washington County went up by how much?
The levy or the assessment?
Assessment.
Without those numbers in front of me, I would have to get them for you.
But it's probably more than 8 million.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah. No, so
You're right, that
Maybe
may
no.
offset it, may not do much, right?
Like, that's what I was, one of the numbers I showed Brian, it takes a lot, believe it or not, to move that rate considerably. Now, the taxpayers of Washington County went from like 69 million to 8 million. Obviously, they've already seen a significant shift, mostly in their school bill, I would guess. I have a chart that I worked up a while back, and I didn't come prepared with it because I didn't expect it. But I do have information that I can share with this body about what the rate was in Fort Edward before GE dewatering, what it went to during the process, and then what it's back to now. What's interesting is you'll find that they're just now getting back to what the rate was before WCC and the dewatering. So if you owned a house in Fort Edward 10 years ago, you're just now getting back to what your taxes were 10 years ago. Because the biggest misconception with the taxes, Fort Edward didn't get any extra revenue. If their levy was $1 million, they still only got $1 million. So the rate went down in Fort Edward. They didn't get additional revenue, and that becomes a really big misconception to the layperson that doesn't deal with this every day. So the people in Fort Edward, if you owned a house there 10 years ago, you're just now getting back to what your rate was then. So while they've seen in the past few years a significant, jump, it's a jump back to where they were. So I try to put it a little bit into perspective to take some of the fear mongering out of the conversation.
So remember that Fort Edward LDDC cannot pay those taxes, period.
I understand.
So they accrue taxes, the county would make them whole. And if it went for auction, what's it gonna bring? Selling a piece of property, remember we'd have to come up with $1 million to clear it. Would that property come up with it so there's a gain? So they would lose, we could potentially lose that $800,000 if it only sold for $200,000 or less because it's still landlocked property. Remember, we have to deal with that access road today, tomorrow, shortly, because without that property is not worth anything. Even a farmer's not gonna buy it, and we've seen it, they're not gonna spend the money to dig up that asphalt and take those buildings down. That's probably several $1 million to take those buildings and asphalt down. So it's a wash, and Fort Edward, both, as I said before, Fort Edward School, Village, and Town are on record is they think the best bet is get off the tax rolls, get someone to come in and take the property. So they have clawbacks or other things happening that could potentially penalize the school, the village, and the town. So is it a risk? They know it's a risk. They're willing to take the risk is why we're having this conversation.
But I would be remiss if I didn't come and ask this body while we're in the grant application phase to see what your commitment to the application was at least. I figured I at least owed the county and the project that ask. I don't need an answer tonight. Well, it'd be great to have an answer tonight because the grant application is kind of looming.
Chairman said, come back when we have.
I will have a conversation with Laura.
Yep.
And if need be, call a special meeting.
Will Laura be called tomorrow so she knows firsthand or not?
She'll be on the call.
Okay.
There will be no. So, any other questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Conversation? I
What
got
time
my
is dinner?
direction. You got your donuts, donut hole.
We ate them all.
There might be one here.
Okay, moving on.
Yes.
Moving on, bylaw amendments, we sent bylaw amendments to you. I've sent them, have you a chance to review the bylaw amendments?
No.
So do I have a red line version of those? I do have a black line version of it. The first one was that, there was on page 2, top paragraph, there's a recommendation we have for clarification purposes, the chairman shall be responsible for ensuring enforcement of the policies and procedures of the agency, and shall be responsible to ensure that directives of the agency are carried out. The chairman shall be responsible for the oversight of the daily activities of the chief executive officer, the office administrator, and the other employees of the agency. The chairman or his designee shall be the spokesman for the agency.
There's no problem with that.
No.
Any problems in that?
No.
Moving on, there was a minor change on that, change from his office to the office. On page 4, there's one change that we had administrative director. We do not have an administrative director. We have an office administrator. So both changes on that page were simply for title change. Selection and compensation of personnel should be determined.
There's just a space, let's do that.
Oh, there's a space, just correcting the space. Extra space was taken out. Page 6, there was a change that said all members appointed after January 13, 2006 shall not currently be in or in the past 2 years have been employed by the agency or an affiliate of executive capacity. Just strike the date because it's way past. And all members appointed after January 13, 2016 shall not currently be in or in the past 2 years been employed by an entity that received remuneration. Clarification of date is passed, and notice actually that striking that date in 4 places on that page. Page 7, member responsibilities upon affirmative vote of the members. The members shall be responsible for ethical management and policy establishment of the agency.
Okay, clarification that's upon affirmative vote of policy.
We made that modification so that it would be it would be based on a vote of the members, because it was unclear, because it didn't indicate that there would be a vote required. So there was some concern about whether or not one member could make a directive versus a vote of the majority of the members to make the directive.
Mike?
And that's what I wanted to confirm, that the, upon the affirmative vote of the members, that means a majority vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions on that one? Next was on the next page, meetings. I was trying to see the change in there.
Looks like a space.
Oh, yeah, after the.
Yeah, after there's a space there. Okay, 9, 10, committees. The executive committee, what we asked to do here is appoint 2 at-large members, 1 member from each county to serve on the executive committee, and added in the event that the offices of the secretary and treasurer are held by different people, then the chair shall appoint 1 member at large to serve on the executive committee. The members at large should be members of the agency. So we're just getting away from having 4 members of the executive committee to 5, because you've had quorum issues. If you have only 2 people show up, you can't even vote. So still needs 3 to be there. So we're just giving the availability to another person. Any problems with that? No. Industrial Park Committee shall have its own chairman. And we took agency contracting officer because somewhere in there it says, one of our laws says the chair has to sign, chair of vice chair has to sign all contracts.
That's it.
And that was it. Any questions? A motion to adopt the bylaws as amended. Motion by Mike Biddle, second by Craig Leggett. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Ally, next one's yours.
The evaluations that I passed out at the last board meeting, I have received 6 of them, so I'm still missing some. I don't know who, I don't know who isn't, handing them in because they're anonymous, but there is a blank sheet in all the packets if you choose to partake.
Choose to partake. Please partake. Take it 30 seconds and maybe 2 minutes to figure it out.
Get yours done?
Appreciate it.
I did mine last week.
Okay.
You've all received donuts. Please complete the evaluation. Not that one has to do with the others.
So I'd like to change the order because we're going to have to go into executive session to talk about personnel. I'd like to talk about the last item on the agenda, which is health insurance. And I'll explain what's come up. We have found, it's come to my attention in certain places where they rely on a key employee that is part-time. And I think Ellie's been averaging about 25 hours a week lately, is that the key person is here. And we've had cases, I've seen cases where the health insurance costs have gone out of sight. And I think regardless of who's in this office, I think we should seriously consider offering health insurance. So we're protecting our key employees and making sure that in some cases, the 2 cases I know of exactly that relied on a key person, what happened was their health insurance, private health insurance was so high, they couldn't afford it, they had to leave because they still want to work part-time, but yet they couldn't afford to because health insurance is. So I'd like to be able to offer that as a benefit to our employees because you only have one key employee. And this came from me, nor else. And that's what I'm putting on the table. Questions? Thoughts? Yes, Mike.
I need to recuse myself if there's any chance that you're gonna go through the Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce for health insurance.
There's always a chance.
Okay, then I am gonna recuse myself. Yes, there is one.
Questions, comments?
Well, what happens if the key person has insurance?
It's their option to consider whether or not they need insurance or not. If it's more cost effective for them, then they could choose it. If not, they couldn't.
Motion approved.
I would like one, yes.
Go.
Motion by Nick to approve. Do I have a second?
I'd like some more discussion.
Yeah.
Second for discussion?
Second for discussion.
Okay. More discussion?
Also, there's stipends for buyouts if you don't take the insurance, you have a stipend as well. To help with, if you already have your insurance, just cover that. And do we have any costs involved?
Cost involved, I think that there is a variety of different plans. I've not looked at the plans, it costs the agency $600 or $700 a month. Depending on the plan.
So we're going to look into this more before, because we kind of did our budget.
Can it wait another one?
I've went for discussion, it's up to what direction you want to give me.
Another one? That's it. You brought it up, put it on the agenda for next month.
Okay.
Figures.
Can we just be clear on what the board wants the chairman to look into so that we're not having this, another discussion to dismiss it for another month.
That's why we put it on the floor, and now we know. We gotta have numbers, we gotta have,
I want to be clear what those are, so we're not doing this again next month.
yeah.
I would just urge the chair to write out a list from your wants for him to look into, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the costs, free quote. Free quotes?
But if it's, you're just talking health insurance, correct?
Correct.
There,
Normally, the same thing we get from our buddies to get a spreadsheet of different costs and plans to evaluate.
Everyone's good, right?
So I'll amend the motion to say, approve the chairman to look into it, find out costs and other things. What else we
Well,
need?
yeah, each one's a different level too, I mean.
Yeah, well, I'll bring all that back. I just wanted to
Yeah.
get guidance where we want to go from there.
Go forward, my
All in
son.
favor?
Abstain.
Okay. I would now entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel. And it is under section 105F to discuss employment history and the potential employment of a consultant for marketing.
Just a point of order. Are we doing this both as this board and this board? If so, we should say that. I don't want to do this again for the other board.
We would have to make a determination from both boards.
Can we do it together? Or can we not?
We could do it together and make a determination, just say yes on the second, just have a quick,
That's
we
right.
wouldn't have to go into executive session.
Yeah, okay.
One employment, one potential contract will not have anything to do with the CDC.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I'll move with that.
okay. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Yes.
Second by Nick, second by, Greg. Okay. So I would ask to have, Ellie leave the room, and anyone who's not a board member to leave, please.
You shut off the live streaming?
You put a pause on it.
There's no pause.
We're